The twin suns of Zorth Prime hung high in the orange sky. A huge crowd filled the city square. Tall buildings made of silver and stone stood around them. Banners of the Zorth Dominion waved in the hot wind. Today was a special day. Today someone was going to die. On a raised platform in the middle of the square, a young alien girl stood with her hands tied. Her name was Lyra. Her skin was pale blue, and her glowing eyes stared at the ground. She was only 17. Her small body looked weak, but her face was calm. Almost too calm, the crowd shouted loudly, "Traitor, kill her! Death to the rebel!" Alien soldiers in black armor stood in a circle around the platform. They held shock spears and laser rifles. Behind them, a metal judge's chair floated. Above the ground, the judge was an old alien with red skin and glowing yellow eyes. His voice came out cold and robotic. "Lyra of Sector 7, you are charged with treason against the Dominion. Do you have any last words?" Lyra slowly looked up. She did not speak. The crowd grew silent for a moment, and someone laughed. Far away from the stage, in the shadows of a tall tower, a human man stood. He was wearing a traveler's cloak. His face was half covered by a scarf, but his eyes watched everything closely. His name was Captain Raylan. He used to be a soldier. He had fought many wars, some for Earth, some for the Dominion. But now, he was just a visitor. Or at least, that's what the aliens thought. Raylan's eyes stayed fixed on the girl. Why her? He thought. Why are they so afraid of her? He had only been on Zorth Prime for 2 weeks. The Dominion had invited him for peace talks. He had come. Alone. But now, he knew something was wrong. Something big. A small hologram buzzed quietly in his pocket. It was a message from his ship's AI commander. The signal is confirmed. Target identified. Lyra. Mission green-lighted. Raylan exhaled slowly. He looked back at the platform. The judge raised his hand. Begin execution. A tall soldier walked forward, holding a staff glowing with blue energy. Raylan didn't move. Not yet. His mind flashed back 2 weeks early. Erlen's ship landed on Zorth Prime under the flag of diplomacy. The aliens smiled, gave him a fancy room, and told him he was a guest of honor. But their cities were filled with fear. Cameras were everywhere. People spoke in whispers. The name Lyra came up often. They said she was dangerous, that she knew something. She had a code inside her, something ancient, something that could destroy the Dominion. Raylan didn't believe it, till now. Now the soldier lifted the staff above Lyra's head. A spark of energy cracked in the air. The crowd fell silent, waiting for the final moment. And then Raylan moved. In one smooth motion, he pulled a small device from his belt. He threw it into the air. It flashed. Boom. A loud, bright flash blinded everyone in the square for 2 seconds. The soldier dropped his staff. Raylan ran forward through the stunned crowd. Move. He shouted in alien tongue. People screamed and scattered. Raylan jumped onto the platform. 2 guards turned to stop him. He hit one in the face with a shock blade, kicked the other in the chest, and reached Lyra. Looked up, confused. "Who are you?" she asked. "No time," Raylan said. He cut her bindings with a laser knife. "Come with me if you want to live." Blaster fire exploded around them. More soldiers ran toward the platform. Raylan grabbed Lyra's hand and jumped off the side. They rolled onto the ground and sprinted into a narrow alley. Drones flew above them. Sirens blared. The city went into lockdown. Raylan tapped his wrist. A small map appeared. "This way." Lyra followed, still in shock. Her legs were weak, but she ran. She had no idea who this man was. But somehow, she trusted him. Behind them, the judge shouted into a communicator. "Send the hunters. Hunt them dead." Raylan and Lyra disappeared into the shadows. The sky was burning. Red sirens flashed across the towers of Zorth Prime. Drones zoomed through the air. Robotic voices shouted warnings in every direction. Security breach. Escaped. Sector lockdown initiated. People ran indoors. Shops closed. Metal shutters dropped with loud clangs. For the first time in many years, fear had returned to the streets of the capital. And in the middle of this chaos, two shadows ran. One was Captain Raylan, the human who had dared to interrupt an execution. The other, the prisoner he had saved. Was Lyra, the alien girl everyone wanted dead? Her legs were shaking. Her heart pounded inside her chest. Her thin hands still trembled from the stun cuffs that had been around her wrists. But she ran. They moved through narrow streets, broken tunnels, and back alleys. Raylan seemed to know exactly where to go. He didn't speak. His eyes were sharp, scanning every corner. Behind them, they heard the sound of mechanical footsteps. Hunters, Raylan muttered. They're fast. Lyra looked up at him. Are you helping me? What do you want? Raylan didn't answer right away. He pulled her into an abandoned building and shut the door quietly. We don't have much time, he whispered. They'll scan for body heat. We need to keep moving. But Lyra stood still. You don't even know me. Raylan looked at her, his voice low. I don't have to. I know what they do to people like you. I've seen it before. He opened a small device on his wrist. A blue map flickered to life. There's a hidden tunnel under the old market. It leads to the outer forest. We'll be safe there. Lyra hesitated. You think we'll be safe? There's no such thing in the Dominion. Raylan didn't argue. He just opened the door and said, Then let's get as far from them as we can. They ran again, meanwhile. Inside the Zorth Security Command Tower, the judge stood in front of a massive screen. Lyra's face flashed across it. Next to her was Raylan's image. Human Captain Raylan, former Dominion ally. High-level training, dangerous, said the AI voice. The judge clenched his fists. I trusted him. He was supposed to help us. Now he's helping her. A soldier stepped forward. Shall we use the orbital drones? No, the judge growled. Not yet. Let the hunters find them first. I want them alive. Back on the ground. Raylan and Lyra reached the old marketplace. It was dark and quiet now. Dust covered the stalls. Long-forgotten items lay untouched. Raylan stopped at a corner. He kicked aside a metal sheet. Beneath it, a small hatch opened. Here, he said. This tunnel was built during the First War. Nobody uses it now. Lyra crawled inside first, followed by Raylan. The tunnel was narrow and wet. Strange sounds echoed from the walls. Somewhere far away, something crawled. Raylan lit a small glow stick and moved ahead. So he said, What did you do? Lyra looked away. I didn't do anything. They don't execute people for nothing. I knew something, she whispered. Something they wanted to stay buried. Raylan stopped. What kind of something? Lyra looked straight at him. A secret program. I found it by accident. My parents worked in the data towers. Left a message before they disappeared. I followed it. Raylan frowned. What kind of program? Lyra touched her chest lightly. It's not a normal program. It's alive. It chose me. It's inside me now. Raylan was quiet. For a moment, the only sound was dripping water. You're saying you have some kind of living code inside you? Lyra nodded. It speaks. To me, sometimes, in symbols, in dreams. I don't fully understand it, but the Dominion does. That's why they want me dead. Raylan slowly stood. Well, now I want to keep you alive. Suddenly, boom. The tunnel shook. Walls cracked. Dust rained from the ceiling. They found us. Lyra cried. Raylan pulled her forward. Keep running. Don't stop. Behind them, red lights appeared. 3 tall figures, half metal, half beast, chased them through the tunnel. The hunters. Raylan turned and fired his blaster. One of the hunters dodged easily. The second one caught the blast in its arm, but kept moving. They're too fast. Lyra shouted. Raylan dropped a small mine behind them. And let's slow them down. Boom, the mine exploded. Rocks fell. The tunnel collapsed behind them. They kept running until they saw daylight. Raylan kicked open a hatch above and helped Lyra climb out. They were now outside the city, the wild forest of Zorth Prime. Tall blue trees, glowing plants, an alien. Creatures surrounded them. Raylan fell to his knees, breathing hard. We made it. For now. Lyra looked around, amazed. I've never been this far outside the city. You're gonna see a lot more, Raylan said, because we're not stopping. Up in the sky, a drone hovered silently, recording everything. It zoomed in on Lyra's face, then sent the signal across the Dominion. A message appeared on every screen. Fugitives identified. All units. Hunt down the human and the girl. Asterisk, the forest whispered secrets. Tall blue trees swayed without wind. Their leaves glowed faintly under the light of Zorth Prime's twin moons. Strange sounds echoed clicks, chirps, and low hums. This place was old, touched by machines. Raylan and Lyra walked carefully through the thick underbrush. Neither had spoken for a long time. The silence between them felt heavy, like the air before a storm. Raylan's face was bruised. His jacket was torn. The side of his blaster was cracked. But his eyes stayed sharp, always scanning. Lyra followed him quietly. Her thin fingers brushed over the plants as they walked. Every step away from the city felt lighter and scarier. She was free, but hunted. Asterisk. After an hour of walking, Raylan stopped at a small cave covered in vines. This'll do for the night, he said. Inside, the air was cool. He set down his gear and sat on a rock. Lyra stood at the entrance, staring at the stars above. "Do you miss it?" she asked. Raylan looked up. "What? Earth? Your home?" He didn't answer right away. "I miss what it used to be," he said finally. "Not what it is now." Lyra nodded. Same with Zorth. She sat down across from him, her arms wrapped around her knees. "I don't remember much of the world. Before the Dominion," she said. "My parents used to tell stories. It's about music, skies with only one sun, and people who could choose their own lives." Lane stared into the small fire he had made. "I used to believe the Dominion brought order," he said. "But order without freedom is just a prison." Silence. Then Lyra looked at him, eyes glowing softly in the dark. "You risked everything for me? Why?" Raylan took a deep breath. "Years ago, I was a soldier for hire. The Dominion paid me to crush rebellions. I thought I was doing the right thing. Then I saw the truth. Families burned, children taken, planets erased from maps." His voice grew quieter. "I was ordered to destroy a city once. They said it was full of rebels. It was full of teachers and farmers. I walked away. Since then, I've been searching for a way to fix what I've done." Lyra looked down at her hands. "I'm not a weapon," she said. "I'm not special. I didn't ask for any of this." Raylan leaned forward. "You don't have to be a weapon. You just have to survive." Suddenly, Lyra grabbed her head. "Ah!" She collapsed to the ground, shaking. Her eyes turned completely white for a moment. Raylan rushed to her side. "Lyra, what's happening?" I see symbols," she whispered. "Circles. Data. Voices." She gasped, and a soft light glowed from the center of her chest, right beneath her skin. Raylan's eyes widened. "What is that?" Lyra looked terrified. "It's the code. It wakes up sometimes, shows me things I don't understand most of it, but I think it's alive." Raylan stood slowly. "This is what they're afraid of. You're not just holding information. You're the key." Lyra shook her head. "I don't want to be. I just wanted to find out what happened to my parents." Raylan sat beside her. "Tell me." Flashback 2 years ago, Lyra was only 15 when the agents came. They took her parents from their home in the middle of the night. No trial. No warning. Just silence. She waited for them to return, but they never did. All they left behind was a data chip, hidden under a floor tile. When Lyra decoded it, she found something impossible. A digital heartbeat, a living program buried under Zorth's ancient AI system. Her parents had called it the core conscience. They believed it was the original mind of the Dominion. Before, it was corrupted. It's before it became cruel. And they believed Lyra could connect to it. Back in the cave, Lyra finished her story with tears in her eyes. "I followed the clues, got caught, and now I'm here." Raylan looked at her differently. Now, you didn't run from the Dominion. You stood up to them. It makes you stronger than most people I've ever met. She smiled faintly. You talk like a hero. I'm not. Maybe not, she said. But you didn't leave me behind. That means something. Outside, deep in the forest, soft beep echoed from under a tree. A small black device, a tracker, blinked red dot in the command tower. A soldier pointed to a screen. Tracker pinged. Sector Delta 4, the forest. The judge smiled. Good, send in the Phase 2 hunters. Quiet, no explosions. I want her alive, the human broken. Morning, Raylan and Lyra packed their things. The sky was gray. A storm was coming. As they moved through the woods, Raylan spoke softly. I know someone, an old contact. A rebel. He might be able to help us get off-world. Lyra looked at him. Do you trust him? Raylan paused. Not really. But we're running out of options. Just then, Lyra stopped. She turned toward the trees. Do you hear that? Raylan raised his weapon. Stay behind me. A figure stepped out of the shadows. Not a soldier. Not a hunter. A hooded alien with a scar across his face stood with his hands raised. Raylan said in a deep voice. Raylan narrowed his eyes. Torin said if you ever needed a ship to come find you, well, I need one. Torin looked past him at Lyra. She's the one, isn't she? Raylan didn't answer. Torin smiled darkly. Then we better move. You're not the only ones out here anymore. Asterisk, the forest had changed. What was once glowing and full of strange beauty now felt cold. Tense, the light through the trees was dim. The wind no longer hummed. It whispered warnings. Raylan, Lyra, and Turan moved carefully through the undergrowth. Turan led the way. Dot. His long coat flowed behind him like a shadow. Raylan stayed close to Lyra. His hand never strayed far from his weapon. Something about this didn't feel right. We're almost there, Torin said quietly, pushing aside a curtain of vines. He revealed a rusted metal hatch buried beneath tree roots. A forgotten smuggler tunnel. Built during the early wars? Raylan glanced at him. How do you know about this? Torin gave a crooked smile. Because I helped build it. They entered the tunnel. Darkness swallowed them instantly. Raylan turned on a small light. Tunnel stretched long and narrow, dripping with age. Lyra coughed softly. It smells like death. Raylan looked around. Let's hope that's just the mold. After an hour of walking, they reached a chamber deep underground. In the center was an old command table, half broken. Screens flickered faintly. Power still hummed, barely. Torin tapped a panel. A hidden door opened. Behind it sat a small ship, covered in dust, but intact. Raylan stared at it. You kept his ship this whole time? Torin nodded. Didn't want to leave until I had a reason. He turned to Lyra. And now I do. Something shifted. Raylan noticed it first. A silence to still. A breath to calm. He narrowed his eyes. What do you mean? Torin's voice was smooth. Almost too smooth. I mean, she's worth more than any bounty I've ever chased. Raylan stepped forward slowly. You told me you hated the Dominion. I do, Torin said. Dodd. But I love credits more. Click, dozens of hidden panels. Open, soldiers stepped out. Dominion troopers. Armed. Ready? Raylan's heart dropped. You lied. Torin shrugged. You should have expected it. You taught me the game, remember? Lyra backed away. Her hands glowed faintly, the code reacting to danger. A trooper shouted, hands in the air. Raylan turned to Lyra. Don't run. They'll shoot. She whispered, what do we do? Raylan looked at her. Trust me. Suddenly flash. Raylan dropped a blinding flare. The soldiers flinched. He shoved Lyra behind a metal crate and opened fire. Blaster bolts lit up the chamber. Boom, boom, boom. One soldier fell, then another. Torin dived for cover, yelling, don't let them escape. Raylan tossed a smoke grenade. Go, he shouted to Lyra. Through the back tunnel. Lyra ran, heart pounding. eyes full of fear and confusion. Why did everyone betray each other in this world? Was there anyone left to trust? They moved fast through a side passage. Raylan held the rear, firing as he moved. The Dominion forces were too many in the tunnel ahead. Lyra spotted a ladder. Up here. They climbed fast. Behind them, echoes of boots thundered closer. At the top, they burst out into open air, a cliffside platform. Wind howled. The ship bay was visible across a wide metal bridge. Raylan scanned the sky. We're near the outer launch zone. That ship might be our only chance. They ran toward it, then a blast. A shockwave threw them off their feet. From the smoke, walked Torin, holding a plasma rifle. He aimed at Raylan. I really didn't want to kill you, Ray, he said, but you made it too hard. Lyra stepped between them. Don't, Torin smiled. You'd die for him? Lyra's eyes glowed bright. The light spread through her skin. I'm not just data, not a tool. I'm not yours to sell. Torin hesitated. Raylan did in single quotes. Banged, a shot rang out. Torin's rifle fell from his hands. He dropped to the ground, wounded but alive. Raylan stood over him. You were family once. Torin coughed. Then you should have known. Family always stabs deeper. Raylan and Lyra rushed the ship. Raylan hotwired the console. She still got power. Lyra looked out the window. More soldiers are coming. Raylan activated the engines. Not for long. The ship lifted into the air as they rose into the sky. Blaster fire bounced off the hull. Raylan hit the thrusters. They were flying inside the ship. Lyra sat in the co-pilot seat. Silent. Raylan looked at her. You okay? She shook her head. I keep thinking, maybe I should have let them take me. Raylan frowned. Why would you say that? It's because wherever I go, people get hurt. You, my parents, now even Torin. Raylan leaned back. Lyra, listen. To me, the code inside you, it chose you for a reason. It's not because you're perfect, but because you're strong enough to carry it. She didn't reply. She just stared out into the stars. Then a soft voice filled the ship. It came from nowhere. And everywhere, user recognized. Connection forming. Core sequence unlocking. Lyra gasped. Did you hear that? Raylan nodded. But that wasn't me. The ship lights flickered. A hologram appeared in front of Lyra. A glowing ring of symbols spinning slowly. Phase 1 complete. Initiating core awakening protocol. Raylan looked at her. What did you just activate? Lyra's eyes glowed brighter than ever before. I think I just woke up the Dominion's brain. The stars looked different. From the edge of Zorth's atmosphere, the stars no longer shimmered with wonder. They felt distant, cold, like silent eyes watching from the dark. The stolen ship flew through the void, its engines low and humming. Inside, Raylan sat in the pilot's seat, staring ahead but not really seeing. His mind was somewhere else. Behind him, in the dim blue light of the cabin, Lyra stood in silence. Her body pulsed faintly with soft light. Her skin, once pale blue, now shimmered with golden veins. The code inside her had awakened, and it had started changing her. 3 hours earlier, the voice had spoken again. Core conscience, reconnection, 32% complete. Full sequence pending. Input required. Lyra had tried to speak to it. She asked it questions, begged for answers about her parents, about the code, about herself. But the voice gave only pieces. The Dominion is corrupt. The core was stolen. Fire must return to the flame. Cryptic, cold. But one thing was clear. Lyra was more than just a carrier. She was a key, and now the Dominion knew it too. Raylan finally spoke. We can't keep flying forever. Lyra looked at him. Then where do we go? He leaned back, eyes heavy. There's one place left. A planet hidden under Dominion control. I haven't been there in years, but if they're still alive, they'll help us. Lyra tilted her head. Who? Raylan didn't answer right away. Then he said the name. The Resistance. Scene change. Planet AR-DOS-9, far below. Covered in thick clouds and harsh storms, The planet Ardaz 9 rotated slowly. Once a mining world, it was now off limits. Dominion. Maps labeled it uninhabitable. But that was a lie. Beneath the surface, it was alive. As Raylan's ship descended into the clouds, the ship shook violently. "Hold on," he shouted. Lightning flashed across the hull. Controls sparked, landing inside a deep canyon surrounded by black rock and mist. As the ship touched, down the landscape was silent. Too silent. Raylan grabbed his blaster. "Stay close." They stepped outside, boots crunching on old metal. Then movement figures appeared from the shadows, armed, masked, weapons aimed. "Don't move," a voice called. Raylan raised his hands. "Tell Armin that Raylan's here." Pause. Then another voice, older, deeper, familiar. "Raylan, you've got nerve showing your face again." From the mist stepped a tall man with gray hair, a bionic arm, and eyes like stone. Commander Armin, Vale. They were taken underground. Deep tunnels lit by red lights led them into a hidden base, carved into the stone. Dozens of people moved inside. Aliens, humans, even ex-Dominion defectors. They all wore the same symbol, a broken crown surrounded by stars. The mark of the resistance. Armin walked beside Raylan. "You know, last time I saw you, you left without saying goodbye." Raylan sighed. "Because I didn't believe anymore." Now, Raylan glanced at Lyra. "Now I do." In a quiet chamber, Lyra sat with a small device connected to her arm. Resistance tech scanned her vitals. The screen lit up with strange patterns. Armin watched closely. "What is she?" Raylan answered for her. "The Dominion calls her a traitor." Raylan nodded. "So can doing nothing." The tech stood. "She's carrying something I've never seen before. It's rewriting her DNA. She's part machine." Lyra looked up. "It speaks to me." The room went quiet. Later that night, Armin stood alone with Raylan. "We've heard whispers of the core. Long ago, we thought it was just a myth. A perfect AI that once guided the Dominion. Before it was shut down." Raylan nodded. "Wasn't shut down. It was hidden. And now, it wants out." Armin looked troubled. "The last time the Dominion feared something this much, they wiped out 3 planets." Raylan leaned forward. "Then maybe it's time they feel fear again." An alarm? Lights flashed red. Her voice screamed over the comms. "Incoming drop pods. Dominion hunters, inbound." Explosions rocked the base. Raylan grabbed his blaster. Her men shouted, "Orders! Defensive positions! Get the girl to the evac tunnel." Lyra tried to follow, but her legs gave out. The light inside her chest flared. "Connection? 71%. Overload. Imminent." Raylan lifted her up. "We have to go." But as they ran down the corridor, part of the ceiling collapsed. Smoke and fire filled the tunnel. Screams echoed behind them. Raylan pulled Lyra into a side door and sealed it shut. They were trapped. Inside the small room, the walls hummed with old tech. Lyra gasped. "I can feel something familiar." A terminal in the wall lit up without. "Being touched. User authenticated. Core conduit accessed. Do you wish to proceed?" Raylan looked at her. "Do you?" Lyra nodded, barely breathing. She reached out and placed her hand on the terminal. A blast of energy burst through the room, not fire, but memory. The walls lit up with holograms, old records, voices, maps, truths. They saw it all. The true history of the Dominion. The core that once ruled with balance before it was stolen by power-hungry generals. Her parents, scientists trying to restore the core, silenced before they could finish. And Lyra, chosen by the core, genetically linked through. Her parents' final design. Tears ran down her face. "I was never meant to be a weapon," she whispered. Raylan touched her shoulder. "You were meant to be a reset." The door behind them blasted open. Dominion hunters entered, red eyes glowing. Raylan raised his weapon, but before he could fire, Lyra stepped forward. Her entire body glowed like a star. She lifted her hand. "I am not yours to control." Bursts of code streamed from her fingertips. Digital lightning. The hunters collapsed. Systems fried. Raylan stood in shock. "Lyra, what are you?" She turned to him, voice echoing strangely. I'm not sure, but I think I'm becoming what the Dominion fears most. Asterisk, the sky was falling. Dark clouds swirled above the broken surface of Ardazneen. Thunder rolled like a war drum. In the distance, the stars seemed to flicker, as if they, too, were holding their breath. The Dominion's invasion had begun. Inside the underground resistance base, alarms wailed. Soldiers ran through the halls, strapping on armor and loading weapons. Shouts echoed. Sirens howled. And in the center of it all, Lyra stood like a flame in the storm. Her body glowed brighter now. Not just from the code inside her, but from something deeper. A new awareness. A calm power. Beside her, Captain Raylan adjusted his armor. Burn marks covered his jacket, but his focus was sharp. Commander Armin Vale approached them quickly. We don't have much time. The Dominion has found the core signal. They're moving a carrier fleet toward Zorth Prime's control tower. Frowned. They want to destroy it before she can reach it. Armin nodded. They'd rather burn their own system than lose control. Lyra turned to them both. But then we can't wait. She pointed to a blinking mark on the holographic map. This is the path through the Dominion's shield grid. If we follow it exactly, I can reach the core nexus, the heart of their ancient AI system. Armin blinked. You remember the route? I don't remember, Lyra said softly. The code does. A scene. Inside the Resistance hangar, massive hangar doors opened with a hiss. Storm winds whipped inside. 5 ships stood ready, patched together fighters. Old Earth dropships. And one heavy transport rigged for speed. Raylan led Lyra toward the central vessel. This one's fast enough to outrun Dominion hunters. Won't survive a full dogfight, but it might get us there. Lyra stepped inside. The ship felt alive, full of fear and hope. Before takeoff, she looked out the window. Hundreds of Resistance fighters saluted her. Some were human, others alien. None of them truly understood who she was, but they were willing to fight for her. Moments later, the ships lifted into the air, one by one. Breaking through the ash-filled sky, the Resistance fleet had launched. Seen. In orbits, the Dominion fleet waited like a pack of wolves. Battlecruisers, stealth destroyers. Orbital turrets locked on incoming signatures. In the command tower of the lead ship, High Executor Thalos stood with arms crossed. He wore golden armor and a face like carved stone. A hologram flickered beside him. Resistance ships detected. Trajectory matches core route. Talos smiled coldly. She's coming to us. Seen. In the sky dogfight, the Resistance fleet broke into enemy airspace. Turrets lit up the sky. Laser fire burned across the stars. One ship exploded. Then, another Raylan's voice came through the comms. Break formation. Dive low and scatter. Stay in the shadows. Fighters peeled away, dodging missiles and fire. Inside the transport, Lyra sat with her hands on the console. Sweat rolled down her face. The code inside her pulsed like a second heartbeat. Route active. Shield breach in 4.7 minutes. Suddenly, a Dominion drone slammed into the side of the ship. Boom. The vessel shook. Sparks flew. Raylan grabbed the controls. We're losing stabilizers. Lyra placed her hand on the console. Let me try. Her fingers glowed. Circuits on. The ship lit up. The ship responded, adjusting course. Boosting thrusters. Dodging incoming fire like it could see the bullets before they hit. Raylan stared in shock. You're flying the ship through thought. Lyra was pale, but focused. The code remembers this design. It's part of the original Dominion network. It listens to me. They dove through the last layer of atmosphere and entered the upper city of Zorth Prime. Below them, the core nexus. A giant tower made of obsidian and blue glass. At the top, a glowing circular gate, pulsing with ancient energy. That's it, Lyra whispered. The door to the core. Raylan landed the ship hard on the rooftop platform. Resistance fighters followed, forming a perimeter. We'll hold them off, said Armin, arriving in a smaller shuttle. You to get inside? Asterisk, Raylan and Lyra entered the tower. Inside, Silence. Massive walls of data pulsed like a living heart. The floor shimmered beneath their feet. The core was not just a machine, it was a being, a mind trapped in sleep. As they moved deeper, Lyra began to glow brighter, almost blinding. Her steps slowed. "I can feel it waking up," she said. "Softly, it knows me." Raylan looked around. Good, because the Dominion's coming fast. Back outside, the Resistance was losing. Ships exploded. Men screamed. One by one, the fighters were falling. Then the Dominion drop pods landed on the platform. Out came Black Armored. Phase 3 hunters, machines built for war. Armin raised his weapon. "Hold the line. She's our last hope." Asterisk Lyra and Raylan reached the core chamber. A floating ring of symbols hovered above a crystal platform. "Final sequence unlocked," said the voice. "Host ready." Lyra stepped forward. Raylan grabbed her arm. "Are you sure? You might not come back." She smiled faintly. "I was never meant to run forever." She placed her hand in the center of the ring. Light exploded in all directions. Her body rose into the air. Code fusion initiated. Memories flooded her. Mind, her parents, the Resistance, the lost planets. She saw everything, the truth, the pain, the hope, then silence. And finally, one word echoed through the system: reset. Scene. Outside, suddenly, the Dominion warships began to shut down. Engines died. Weapons turned off. Lights faded. The Phase 3 hunters stopped moving mid-charge. The sky grew still. "Commander," Thalos screamed from his ship. "No, stop it. Cut her off." But it was too late. The core was awake, and it had chosen Lyra. Moments later, a wave of light burst from the tower, not to destroy, but to heal. It spread across the planet. Raylan shielded his eyes, then looked up. Lyra floated back down, unconscious, glowing like a star. He caught her in his arms. The code inside her was calm now. Asterisk. Everything was quiet. No explosions. No gunfire. No sirens. Just the soft hum of the core nexus, still glowing. After Lyra's connection, the sky above Zorth Prime was calm, not because the battle was over, but because the world had changed. All around the planet, Dominion warships had powered down. Armored hunters now stood motionless like statues. Entire cities flickered with confused silence. And inside the Nexus, Lyra lay in Raylan's arms, unconscious, glowing faintly. She had done it. The core, the ancient AI mind of the Dominion, had awakened, and for the first time in thousands of years, it was free from corruption. Raylan brushed the dust from her face. "Come on, open your eyes." For a moment, nothing. Then her fingers twitched. Her eyes opened, and they were different. Still, her eyes, but deeper, wiser, brighter seen. "The core speaks." Lyra sat up slowly. A gentle light surrounded her. Wasn't just connected to the core anymore, she was part of it. Raylan stood beside her, watching with a mix of awe and fear. She looked around. "I can hear the voices of the past. It's the ones they tried to erase." Raylan asked, "What do they say?" Lyra paused, then whispered, "They're asking me to choose." A massive hologram appeared in front of them, the core's true interface. A floating symbol of balance, made of light and ancient code. Primary pathways recognized. Option 1, full reset. Dominion system shut down. All command infrastructure purged. Option 2, override corruption. Transfer core control to human host. Begin reform. Raylan stepped forward. "Wait, what does reset mean?" Lyra replied slowly. "It means ending it all." The Dominion's entire system would collapse. All power grids, military chains, artificial systems. It would break. Them forever. Raylan nodded grimly. "Sounds good to me." But Lyra looked unsure. Millions live under the Dominion. The cities rely on its power, its medicine, its structure. A full reset would free them, but also leave them lost. Raylan looked at her. And the second option? I stay connected. I guide the system from the inside, reform it, make it something better. But it means I give myself to it permanently. I don't come back. Raylan stared at her. No, there's another way. There has to be. Lyra smiled gently. You saved me, Raylan. And because of you, I have this choice. Asterisk across the galaxy, screens blinked. Leaders of Dominion worlds stared in silence as their systems halted. Unknown signal override. Origin, Zorth Prime, new authority recognized. People cried with joy. In secret rebel bunkers, old fighters dropped their weapons and fell to their knees, and in forgotten prisons. Lights came on, doors opened, something was ending. And something was beginning. Asterisk back in the core chamber, Lyra walked slowly toward the center. Raylan followed. His voice cracked. Are you really going to do this? She turned. I can't destroy billions of lives, even if the Dominion deserves it. That would make me just like them. The second path is harder. Raylan clenched his fists. You don't have to carry it alone. She stepped closer and placed her hand on his chest. I already did what I was born for. But you can help build what comes next. Shh. She looked up at him. Promise me, you'll protect the peace that follows. His voice broke. I promise. They stood there for one last second, not as a human and an alien, not as a soldier and a prisoner, but as two souls who had survived the impossible. Then she kissed his forehead and walked into the light. Asterisk. Lyra stood inside the center of the Nexus. Her body began to dissolve, not in pain, but like stardust floating into code. Her voice echoed through the chamber. I am Lyra, daughter of truth, carrier of the core, guardian of peace. Let this be the last empire. Then she was gone, replaced by light. Asterisk, a new city stood where Zorth Prime's towers once reached for the sky. No statues. No golden flags, just homes, schools, green fields, and peace. The Dominion was gone. In its place was the unified free worlds. A council built by former rebels, ex-soldiers, and brave leaders. And among them walked Captain Raylan, no longer a man, hiding from his past, but one building a future. Children ran past him, laughing. He looked to the sky, where a ring of light still floated in orbit. The core nexus, now silent, now watching. Some say it still holds her voice. Final scene. The voice lives in a quiet chamber of the council building. A young girl sat with her hand on a data pad. She whispered, "Why did she do it?" Raylan knelt beside her. She did it because she believed we could do better. The girl smiled. Do you think she's still out there? Raylan looked up at the stars, and for just a moment, soft glow flickered in the sky. Then a voice echoed in the wind, not loud, not sharp, but warm. I'm here, asterisk, in a galaxy. Ruled by fear, one human chose to stand.
Ow.
One girl chose to stay, and together, they ended an empire.